Hello, my name is Bo, and welcome to episode number 4. I hope you guys enjoyed the previous episodes, and if you guys haven't had the chance to check it out, please go ahead and check them out. And if you like them, please comment and subscribe to us. And also, you guys can follow us on Twitter, and you can connect with us on Facebook. I put all those links underneath this video in the description. And also, since this video is sponsored by Zulax Inc., please go and check out Zulax Inc. websites. We got free games on Google Play and iTunes, and we create these amazing adventure games. And I think you guys gonna love it. And the art and the graphic in these games are phenomenal. And basically today I'm gonna do this painting, and on this painting, basically the main goal is to be very casual, very casual, and basically try to come up with ideas as we go along. So there's no plan, there's nothing. When I started this painting, I just actually I took this old painting that I had. It's a traditional painting, and it's done with acrylic, and it's not fully done actually. It was just like something I didn't have the time to finish, and I took it and I had a scan from it, so I scanned it in my computer, I think a long time ago. So I just found it, and I'm gonna use that as a base texture for this painting. And the reason I'm doing that, because it's gonna give me a lot of colors, and I want to create some sort of like a traditional looking concept by end of this video. So that's one of my goals, and the other goal is like create something that would serve as a concept to pitch a movie or pitch a video games to producers or to our artists or to a programmer or to an art director. So that's the whole concept of this painting, to communicate your ideas. And as you can see through this painting, I'm gonna break a lot of rules. I'm not gonna follow lots of anatomy in the beginning, especially. I'm not gonna follow perspective because I want to keep my line very loose. I want to keep my shape very smudgy, very loose, very blurry. And the reason for that, because it helps my brain to come up with new ideas, and it helps my brain to see new shapes. So, and obviously say, oh, a lot of them gonna be by accident. Obviously, the reason I want to do this, because I want to make those accident happens as much as I can. So that's the whole idea. And as you can see, the painting itself that I use as a texture underneath, it already has a loads of colors. It added lots of colors, and it's already got a lots of textures and lots of shapes. So that's a big bonus. And if you're using if you're doing this type of painting and you want to follow along, please use your own paintings or your own textures. And if you use somebody else, make sure you got the basically you got their permission, because sometimes it can get really you don't want to get caught in a bad spot, you know. So I just try to tell you about that. And as I said, I'm just trying to keep this loose. And here I think I kind of got an idea. So as you can see, I'm using a lot of texture brushes. And basically, I don't have a custom brushes. I basically sometimes I make a brush on the go. And for this video, actually, I made one custom brush. You're gonna see later that I use this. I had this photo of the tree, and I basically made a brush out of the tree branches. So basically a silhouette of a tree. So I'm going to use that for vegetation later on in the video. But everything else are basic default Photoshop brushes. So you guys, the reason I did that, because I want you guys to follow along. And the other reason, because I don't have any custom brushes, and it just makes me, just for me, it makes me very confused, because I want to keep it as simple as I can, and I want to I don't want to focus too much on choosing brushes. I don't have a lot of time, so I want to. But if you, but I recommend you actually experiment with that. Experiment with the Photoshop brushes. I know a lot of artists too, and a lot of artists, they got their own custom brushes, and they do amazing things with them. But for me, this is what works the best. And as you can see here, that I just throw a bunch of like arrows, and obviously I really don't care about at this stage. I really don't care about how ugly my line's gonna look and how ugly my shape's gonna look. All I'm trying to come up with just ideas. And the reason I throw those arrows, I just try to establish a basic composition and where your eye's gonna go, where your eye's gonna start from. And sometimes when I somewhere get there's too much texture happening in one area, I go in and just blur it out. I just select that big area and just blur it out. And here I'm just using this big brush of that I made with a tree photo. And as you can see, actually it works great, because I don't want to go in and paint those individual branches. I just want to suggest some vegetation. And obviously, if you want to do it yourself, go ahead. But for sake of time, I want to produce something it's kind of standard in the industry to use. And the other thing I have to warn you about, if you just started painting or drawing, following this method might frustrate you at first, because you gotta know, you gotta have some certain level of skill and certain level of knowledge about anatomy, colors, and shape, geometry, that when you make mistake, later on you can go in and fix it. The pros about this type of painting, which basically doing it very casually without following any rules or any plan, the pros about it, sometimes you come up with wonderful ideas and they're phenomena, and they just come out of nowhere and they surprise you. That's a great thing, but not all the time, but sometimes. But the bad thing about it, the bad thing about it, the cons are sometimes, in most cases, not actually every time, you gotta make lots of mistakes in perspective, in anatomy, and in color, in shape, in tonality. But if you kind of experience painter and you've been painting for a while, later on you can come in and fix those problems. And sometimes you actually can't, or just put it away, and maybe later on you come back and try to look at it. As you can see, I'm using actual lots of lines. I like this method of drawing, and this emulates a pastel drawing for me, because I used to draw with pastels and color pastel and Conte on a paper, and basically doing life drawing. And I love just the feeling that you get to a smudgy, and you get a loss of texture out of it. So I try to emulate that type of feeling with this painting, and I want to have that kind of pastel type of quality. It's almost like you can see the textures, and you can see lines, you can see smudges. So I want to give that feeling away. And the reason behind that, because since this is going to be served as a painting for a pitch or initial pitch or something like that, just to suggest the idea, I want something interesting enough so the audience would look at it. So the producer or the director, or they can look at it, and they love to look at it, because it would be something unique. And I think I just came to the idea that that would be a great thing to do. And as you can see, this texture that I use already gave me a lot of colors, and it's already gave me a lot of textures to work with. And that's like an extra bonus. And again, if you're using this type of method, make sure you use your own thing. And if you're using somebody else, make sure you got their permission. But it shouldn't be hard for you, because you can use anything. You can drop a bunch of like a random watercolor paint on a paper and scan it in. And I would recommend just try this method. It's actually it's one of those things. This is what they call, like, I guess the reason I've seen a lot of people do this. There's a thing called, obviously, like a creativity block or artist block, which I don't really believe in. But sometimes maybe you're tired and you're just kind of frustrated, and your brain doesn't, or your brain is tired, and understandable, you cannot come up with new ideas. So in this way, providing your brain with shapes and random, basically random shapes, your brain can come up with cool ideas. And it's almost like seeing faces in the clouds. So that's the basic concept behind it. And as you can see here, I made loads of mistakes in perspective and anatomy, and later on I'm gonna come in and fix them. And again, you gotta understand, like, I kind of right now I kind of got an idea what I'm gonna do. And the backstory gonna be like this ancient city, this old ancient city in the middle of like a nowhere, which is a loss of vegetation and trees. And basically you go there and there's this big magical monster that guard the city or something like that. And I don't really know the whole story. I just know that's like a part of the story. So that's enough for me to go ahead and create something and be inspired by that. And as you can see, those big giant brushes that I made with that basically that photo, it just works really good, because I don't have to spend time painting trees and leaves. I can just like stamp them in and just move around and just work with my composition. So this is a great way for me to just work fast and try to fix the composition and try to come up with new ideas and focus on the areas that matters the most. Not focus on something that later on it doesn't matter. It doesn't really provide lots of information for the audience, so I can communicate my ideas to them. Obviously you gotta prioritize what is the most important subject in this painting, and which is the monster. Then after that, I want to suggest some buildings in the background and some vegetation, and because I want to show where he stands, obviously. And as you can, and the other thing is, like, don't be afraid to paint through like your shapes. I see a lot of, I used to do that too, like you just paint these nice shapes and just this nice arm and nice area, and all of a sudden you want to paint something in the back and you're just kind of scared to paint through it. And right, actually you can paint on a layer and erase it, but at the same time, for this painting I'm trying to not have a lot of layers. I think in the max I use like 2 or 3 layers to paint on. I made a couple of other layers just to check the tonality of the painting. So on the max, right now I'm just mostly painting on just 1 layer. So it's mostly 1 or 2 layers I'm painting on. So I'm trying to keep it simple, keep it fast, keep it in a way that my brain doesn't have to worry about a loss of things. You just focus on this painting an idea. And the other thing actually is like try to work all around your painting, because right now I actually add a figure in there. It's very, I think you should like probably even do it like sooner than I did. Probably do it in the beginning, like just like throw a figure in there, because it just shows you basically how big is your environment or how big is your subject. When you throw like a human body, like human figure in there, like very fast, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be just basically even a stick figure or something like that, as long as it shows like a proportion, because you wanna communicate that to your brain. Because when you're painting, when you're doing painting, your brain already gotta be worried about 1,000 things, and it's already a complex process already. So you gotta come up with tools and come up with basic simple tools to make the process easier on your brain. And why not draw a figure? Because like a lot of time I don't do it obviously, but it helps a lot. Every time I did it, it just helps a lot, and it makes things to go faster, at least for me. So the other thing right now you see I'm doing, I actually kind of smudging out my shapes because I felt I'm getting too tight here, and I'm getting too a lot of areas actually looks like gonna get finished too soon. So I still want to play around. I want to still have enough time and enough enough room to play around with shapes and push them to a limit. So I don't want to get it stuck. So I'm just trying to play around with colors. I'm trying to basically I'm using the color picker, just taking the color out of that painting that I have, and just paint over it. I want to see what works, what doesn't. What areas right now I'm thinking what area is going to be dark, what area is going to be light, and in which areas the light going to hit which areas, and which areas the light not going to hit it. Just things like that. And you got to go all around a painting, because when you work in one area, sometimes you can get stuck in one area. I start doodling, and that one area looks amazing. And that's a bad thing about sometimes Photoshop. When you zoom right in, and when you zoom out, and all of a sudden that area just doesn't fit the puzzle and fit the rest of the painting. And so the other habit I recommend you guys try to do is zoom in, zoom out. And it's a simple thing. Obviously, a lot of times actually I still got this bad habit of zooming in and just painting, and especially when you're busy and try to get something done and just move fast. But it just what happens is later on I have to go in and fix that mistake, and it's gonna take me longer, and it's not just it's not a good habit. So but when you zoom in, zoom out, you see the whole thing, and you get to work all around in the painting, because it's almost a build-up process. You just move around a painting and you build each area of the painting almost at the same pace. But obviously you got some in the end you're gonna have some important part, and you're gonna have some less important part in the painting, and some part eventually you're gonna spend more time on, and some part you're gonna spend obviously less time on. So that's the other thing. And right now I'm actually as you can see, I smudged basically the neck. The neck is very soft color, and basically there's lots of soft tones happening. Because the reason I did that, because I want to create that kind of pastel like quality. So later on I can go in like this, that I'm right now drawing the muscles neck, and I'm drawing the neck and the eye socket, those areas. I can go in, and with the darker shapes I can just draw in and just bring out those muscles. So another thing you got to realize, basically painting is the same as drawing. There's no difference. That's why a lot of people prefer, they tell you it's better to draw first, because drawing is a science. You got to know about perspective, you got to know about anatomy, and if you know how to draw, you can learn to paint. With painting, you just use the same concept as drawing, but but you just use different colors to draw with, and draw over those colors. And obviously when you do traditional medium, probably this type of painting might not be as much as possible. You can still do it, but the way I do it here, I'm smudging a lot, and I'm building a lot of colors upon other colors. So in traditional painting, you got a problem of build up. So after a while, when you paint some colors, you cannot paint over it anymore, and that's why you got to do sometimes lots of pre-planning. So that's why when you look at those old masters, they did a lot of thumbnails, and they did a lot of even tonal studies and stuff like that. But the magic of a digital medium is, it's still good to do those sometimes for yourself, but sometimes you can even skip that part and just jump right into the painting. And obviously, whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt, because you got it's still got to know. If you, this is the advice for somebody who's been painting for a while and who's been uh, made a lot of some mistakes, and he knows how to fix his problems. For example, like if I got some problem in this painting, I know how to fix it because I've done it so many times. For example, right now, I noticed the arm. It's like it's kind of weird. It's like it's a strange perspective. So later on, I'm gonna go in and try to fix that, and I make that way better. So and the other thing, I'm trying to show form. So whatever I do, I try to show form. So with colors, you try to show form, and as you can see, lots of my lines and lots of my tones, they're not really that defined. They're not the prettiest to look at, but that's not my purpose. That's not the purpose of this painting. The purpose of this painting to show form and show my idea in the most three-dimensional way as much as I can in a couple of hours. And because especially when you work in a basically any industry, what you find out, you don't have a loss of time actually to accomplish something, and you got to accomplish something in a very short amount of time. Obviously, in a large companies, it's much everything is much more task oriented. So you might have like you just got to focus on one task. But in a medium companies like or like that less than 50 people that are working, so it's almost like you have to be responsible for a lot of things. Sometimes even not necessarily you have to know programming. Obviously, that's something else. But myself, I've done programming, I have done marketing, I've done lots of things. So I have done like basically paintings, and I've done art, I've done modeling. So I've been responsible, and a lot of people actually work for me. They're responsible for lots of things. So it's not as because we don't have as much resources. So that's the thing about that's actually a great thing about a small company sometimes, that you learn a lot of skills and in a short amount of time, because you have to do that. But obviously big companies, they got their own benefits as well, and they're great to work with, and you learn different things, you know. And I work in them too, and you learn a lot of other things too at the same time. So both of them got their benefits. But when I started doing these videos, one of my target areas was casual, basic casual game development. So because that's the area that right now we're in, so that's what I want to like share with you guys, and that's the area I've been involved with for a long time. So, and basically, for example, the concept of this painting, the reason I did this, because I want to like at this point, I'm thinking this painting, for example, can be used for a RPG game or like a casual mobile game or something like that, and it can be the trailer or it can be the beginning of the game when you see a story, or and basically you see characters in track and they just jump in a game. And the other thing is like right now, for example, I draw something around the neck, so I want to show that it's like a magical and it's ancient, you know. I just want to suggest something. I didn't want to add armor to this monster. I want to add something very very small, but at the same time with some pattern, and that showed basically how old is this monster. It's basically very old, like a monster, and it's like a obviously immortal monster, and I want to add this item around his neck to give it more character. And as you can see, the other thing a lot of people do is like they go in and paint a lot of details. Try to suggest it. Don't try to draw every single detail. Obviously, if you want to do a full painting and you want to go like a super detail, yes, you can do that. But I try to suggest it. Like I just throw a couple of lines in there, and you try to actually paint in the right spot, and you suggest them. And obviously, that comes from experience and where you put them and how to paint them. And as you can see, I just draw the eye socket. I'm designing the eye socket, I'm designing the cheekbone, and all the time I'm designing those areas. I'm thinking about muscles, the bones, and basically I'm thinking about all the anatomy lessons that I've learned in the past, and I'm trying to put them in a use. In the beginning of the painting, it was much more a process of like coming up with the ideas and basically pushing the creativity part. But in the basic end of the painting, you try to go back and fix those problems and basically fix those mistakes that you made earlier while you were creating those ideas. As you can see, like I just like use a color picker and just pick an area, and I try not to doodle on one area too much. I try to move around, zoom in, zoom out, you know, move around as much as I can. Again, I'm just like, I love the special. The reason I'm using it because I try to create that pastel type of quality. So in pastel, when you do like if you done actually I recommend doing that. It's actually a very fun process, and I haven't actually done pastel drawing in a long time, but back in the school when I was used to do it, it was really fun. You get going and you kind of smudge the pastel, and you can make thin lines, you can make thick lines. It gives you a lots of quality, and it's a very soft medium, so it is actually can be very hard to work with, and you need to apply certain pressure and certain angle on the pastel to get certain different type of quality of lines and tones. But after a while, when you get used to it, it's actually a very rewarding medium, and it's very fun to work and use. And that's what I'm trying to emulate here. I'm trying to emulate that type of like a pastel quality. And as you can see, like I'm actually one of the areas I want to focus on this painting, the face. Face is very important because lots of audience, every creature or everybody that you actually see on the street or every animal that you observe, one of the first area on subconsciously our eyes goes to is the face and the eye area. So that area is very important, and it shows a lot of character. And obviously this might be very simple, you might already know it, but I'm gonna repeat it because it's worth repeating. Just keep that in mind. That can be very important. So try to add a bit of extra detail in the face, and that's what I'm trying to do in this painting. I'm trying to add a bit of extra detail, and right now I'm just trying to when I paint the back leg, actually I try to have more of a silhouette that go in and basically define every muscle or every bone. I'm trying to come up with like some silhouette that it fits the posture good, and that's gonna be enough for me for a back leg and a back hand, because I want to show him I want to make the suggestion that they're like way back in the distance. They're not as much they're not as the other leg and the other hand are much closer. So I want to put much more detail in those areas because I want to give that feeling of like going way back in perspective. And again, this painting is like it's gonna be in 2 episodes. So in the second episode, I'm gonna finish this painting, and again, by end of this painting, I'm gonna post links to our online game, and basically, it's a very great adventure game from Zulax Game. And please drop by and check out what we're doing. And again, our website is www.zulax.com, and follow us on Facebook. Whenever I post a video, I'm gonna post it to Facebook, and you can follow us on Twitter. So I'm gonna post all those links underneath these videos and in the descriptions. And like pretty soon, we're actually working on these couple of games. They're gonna be out in the market. So at the same time, you can follow us. And our website is actually gonna be it's gonna be like kind of under construction. So but again, like keep in touch and subscribe to us underneath video. Like there is a subscription, so you can subscribe to us. And again, in the next episode, I'm going to finish off this painting, and thank you for stopping by, and I hope to see you guys around. Thank you.